Hi there. I hope you're doing well on this beautiful day. What is today's focus on our lesson? We want to focus on statistics, but the focus will be on correlation and data. Okay. So have a pen and paper with you there, and remember how we do mathematics. We don't just observe. We need a pen and paper, and we need to think. Question what is happening there, okay, and take your notes. It's not about observing only. Let's see what we have today. Hope you're ready. Now, under statistics, before we look at that, what I'd like you to think is how do we predict the change to dollar rand exchange rate? How can we really predict? Let's say the rand today to a dollar is about 14 rand to a dollar. How can we predict in the next 2 months how much will rand be trading against the dollar? What do we use to do that? Okay, and why should I do that? I might be traveling in future, and do I exchange my currency now or do I exchange in future? We know at some point the rand was approximately 17 rand to dollar, and I think at the moment it's a bit stronger to about 14 rand, and that fluctuates with time. Okay, so if we have lots of data meaning information, and we can put that on a scatter plot, we can kind of see the trend, and one can use different kind of models to predict what does the rand look like in future. So one will use data to predict the exchange rate in future for the rand against the dollar. Okay, fantastic. I hope that makes sense. Okay, good. And if you have time, I'd like you to look at the trend, okay? If you have your device, just look at what is the rand today to the dollar, and look at what it was 3 weeks ago, and what do you think would look like in 3 weeks' time, okay? Take your time and use a device if you have something like that, and look at the trend. Fantastic. So let's see, what is machine learning? Have you heard of something called machine learning? Okay. Do you know what is machine learning? Have you been on YouTube and you'll watch a video? After watching a video, then it will recommend another video. And say, oh, because you watched this, therefore, the next one is this. That's kind of like a machine learning, because it kind of predict what you like in a way. What are the other machine learning? Some insurance company will put a device, something in your car, and they kind of study how you drive, and they'll reduce your insurance premium, how you pay per month, based on the data they collect. Okay, it's kind of like data that kind of predict the future in a way. Does that make sense? Something of that nature, this machine learning. Let's look at, so what are we going to look under our statistics? We're going to look at, let's go back there, we're going to look at Byvaric Data, Byvaric Data, correlation, and scatter plot. We're going to look at the 4 concepts and what does that look like, okay? Before we do that, there's some keywords I'd like us to look at that. What is correlation? And what is data? What do you think correlation is? Okay. What do you think data is? We already defined what is data by looking at machine learning. Okay, that machine learning, it can kind of collect lots of data and predict what will happen. An example was more like a YouTube. You watch a video. By watching this, and it'll predict, oh, the next video you like is this one. Okay, so data is information. But correlation will talk about 2 variables. I can talk about your maths marks and science marks. Does it mean if I get a good maths mark, I'll do well in science? Do those 2 things move together? Does that make sense? Okay. Another way to think of correlation, I mean, is the petrol price. Okay. Why does the petrol price go up and why does the petrol price go down? Why? Because there is a correlation between the petrol price and the oil price. Usually, if the oil price goes up, the petrol price goes up. Similarly, if the oil price drops, the petrol price goes down. So the two correlate. Can you think of something else of correlation? We can think about interest rates. Have you heard about interest rate? Usually, if interest rate goes up, if you have money in the bank, your capital goes up. But if you have lots of credit or debt, if interest rates go up, the money, you have more in debt. Are we together? There's so many correlation exists in many, many ways. But don't confuse something called correlation and causation. Okay, does that make sense? What do I mean when I say causation? Let's assume today is so hot and we're at the beach and lots of people are swimming at the beach and some people drown at the beach. But on that day, the sale of ice cream was high. Can we say because the sale of ice cream was high, therefore ice cream caused drowning? No. So we mustn't confuse correlation and causation. Okay, fantastic. I hope correlation makes sense to you. Think of more two variables that correlates. How many hours I spend studying and the results I get. I think there's some correlation. Okay, fantastic. Now let's look at an independent variable and dependent variable. When we talk about the independent variable, it's a variable that does not depend on the other variable. Okay? If I look at Cartesian plane, that will be my x-axis. That will be an independent variable. Where dependent variable depends on the other variable, so that will be the y. Okay? And to get that y, my input must be the independent variable. Okay? Hope it makes sense, guys. Our independent and dependent variable is just my x and my y value on Cartesian plane. Okay? Fantastic. Beautiful. So we will look at statistics. We said we'll look at univariate data, Byvaric data, correlation, and scatter plot. We'll finish with scatter plot. Let's look at univariate data. What is univariate data? Univariate data is a data concerned with a single variable, okay? So it's a single variable, just single one variable. I'll give an example. A simple example of univariate data will be the salaries of workers. Let's look at this in an industry. So univariate data would be a data of this nature. This is the industry. We talk about agriculture and food industry. So the average monthly salary is 17,000. Okay, so that's a single data point for this sector of the industry. Arts and culture, we know that in arts and culture, the average salary is about 18,000. Okay? In banking, the average salary will be about 26,000, and customer support 17,000, and also we can see information technology 31,000, insurance sector is 25,000, education approximately 19. Those are just average. It's just univariate data tells us the industry and one single point. That's our univariate data. Okay. Then what about Byvaric data? So Byvaric data will differ from our univariate data. How does it differ? So the Byvaric data has two measurements associated with it. For example, if you're studying a group of students, you want to study a group of students to find out their average mathematics and physical science marks. You have two variables. So it's by. By, we're talking about two. Univariate, talking about single. Okay. So this will be Byvaric Data. What do we have here? We have students' mathematics marks and physical science marks. And we might be interested in, does it mean a high maths mark means a good physical science mark? So we want to plot the 2 points and see what is happening. So if you look at this, what does this mean? So this is maths and this is physical science. So a student who gets approximately 80% in maths gets 79% in science. Okay? We're talking about 2 Byvaric Data and 50%, 44% physical science, 56% in maths. That implies about 60% in physical science, 67 mathematics, about 70% physical science, 85% for maths, 81 physical science, and 93, 88, 45%, which is 33% for physical science. By looking at this data, what do you see? Okay, what can we conclude from that? I mean, hence we might have to do some analysis or sketch a scatter plot. Based on this, can I conclude a high maths mark implies a high physical science mark? Does it mean if I perform poorly in maths, I'll perform poorly in physical science? If you look at this, I mean, this is 45% for physical science, which ends up to 33%. But we have one data point. Can we really conclude based on that? So usually we need like lots of data to make an informed decision, okay? And later we'll explore more and calculating even correlation, look at that. Okay. Okay, guys, we are going to take a short break. And when we come back, we'll explore more on correlation and looking at some of the statistics. I hope you're ready and everything's going well, and keep working hard, and remember to have a pen and paper when you do your mathematics. And it's okay to struggle. It's okay as long as you're doing something, okay? And continuously you work on your mathematics. Okay, fantastic. See you shortly.